Don't want to pay money for their interest rate. Oh.
Oh.
Ticket, right. Rich, really good thorough ticket.
Wow.
Thank you guys. I've been there.
Huh?
Thank you. Visit someone.
You should say thank you. That's dangerous.
Two ladies going up on this thing. Oh, man.
That is true. That is true. And
Well-
I'll talk about his food.
We're two pockets, right?
Yes. Support.
We met.
Hmm?
Me and Sarah.
David and Tom.
Yeah. What do you order?
Oh. Oh.
I know.
I was telling you last week. Right skin on all of them. So rude.
What's the one? That would be me. Oh, I smell like.
Good evening and welcome to our regular meeting for the Waipahū Neighborhood Board. I'd like to please introduce the rules of speaking. Anyone wishing to speak is asked to raise their hand, and when recognized by the chair to address comments to the chair, speakers are encouraged to keep their comments under 3 minutes, and those giving reports are also urged to keep their reports under 3 minutes. Please silence all electronic devices at this time. It is customary for our neighborhood board to start off with the introduction of our board members. May I start with my board members to my right?
Good evening, Marina Andrade at large.
Good evening, Richard Oshiro at large.
Aloha and good evening, Nathan Chang, Subdistrict 3.
Aloha and good evening, Jayden Chang, Subdistrict 3.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome again, Darryl Macha at large.
Good evening, Terry Tumbaga, Subdistrict 3.
Debbie Siegel at large.
Good evening, Kevin Wilson, Subdistrict 1.
Good evening, Marita 3.
Dave Beer, Subdistrict 2.
Aloha and good evening, Danny DeGracia at large.
All right, thank you, board members. Move on in our agenda with our first responder reports. While they're still here, Honolulu Fire Department. If you could use the one in the middle for now, yeah, thank you.
Hi, good evening, Captain Tori Tamiyoshi from the Waipahū Fire Station. The statistics for February provided below represents confirmed number of incidents in the neighborhood board's geographical area for the previous month. For more details on the incidents and related mapping information, please visit the fire response map on our HFD website at fire.honolulu.gov under the News and Info tab. If you have questions, please email our HFD's Public Affairs and Media Liaison at hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. So our incidents for February 2025 for fires, we had 7 structure fires, 3 wildland brush fires, 7 nuisance fires, which include rubbish fires outside of a structure or vehicle, 1 cooking fire, and 7 activated alarms with no fire found. For emergencies, we had 235 medical calls, 0 motor vehicle collisions with pedestrians, 12 motor vehicle crash collisions, 0 mountain or ocean rescues, and 4 hazardous materials incidents. Our safety tip for the month is smoke alarms. Smoke alarms are crucial for saving lives and play a key role in a home fire escape plan. When installed properly and maintained correctly, they provide early alerts, giving occupants a chance to evacuate quickly. Install smoke alarms in every bedroom, outside each separate sleeping area like a hallway, and on each level of the home. Test smoke alarms at least once a month by pushing the test button. Replace smoke alarms when they are 10 years old or stop responding when tested. Any questions at this time?
Thank you, Do I have any questions for Honolulu Fire Department from the board? Any questions? Hearing none. Any questions from our members of the audience? Hearing none. Thank you so much for your report. I would like to welcome Honolulu Police Department.
Good evening. My name is Lieutenant Keone Hong, representing District 3. For the stats for February compared to January 2025, motor vehicle thefts, there were 13 in February, 11 in January. Burglaries, there were 7 in both months. Thefts, there were 35 in February, 29 in January. Car break-ins or unauthorized entry into motor vehicles, UAVs, there were 7 in February and 9 in January. Total calls for service in this area, the month of February, there were 2,221 calls, and January, there were 2,228. I had a handout regarding electric bicycles. It's one of the hot topic issues right now. There were some new laws passed, so I'm just gonna quickly go over some of the laws. First one is must be at least 15 years old to operate an electric bicycle. Must be registered to a household member at least 18 years old. Helmets with the chin strap are required for riders under 18. The motors must not exceed 750 watts. Maximum speed cannot exceed 20 miles an hour. Must have fully operable pedals. You're permitted to ride on residential sidewalks as long as you're under 10 miles an hour. Prohibited on business district sidewalks. Wheels must face forward and remain in contact with the ground at all times. No wheelies or exhibition riding. And operators must remain seated in a standard riding position with one leg on each side of the seat. So I had some stats for District 3. We gave out 26 e-bike citations within the last week. 9 were for helmet violations under 18 years old. 1 was for wheelie. 3 were for under 15-year-olds operating the e-bike, and 13 were for equipment violations involving electric bikes. Any questions at this time?
Thank you, Lieutenant. Do you have any questions from our board, Member Andrade?
I have a question on the e-bikes.
Yes.
How do we report them to you folks when they're going so fast?
Mhm.
I mean, how do you folks catch them?
So it's hard. It's difficult, to be honest. It's being in the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
Or if you see them at a certain time of day in a certain area and you know that's consistent, you could always call the station and just let the whoever answers the phone know, at this park at 6 p.m. every day, there's a group of e-bikes riding around. And then they can note it and funnel it down through.
I
Whatever.
called a couple of times asking for Makanania. And I'm just going to give you some information.
Mhm.
So there are a group of 7 kids.
Mhm.
And I think they range from, I want to say they range from maybe 13, 14 years old to maybe high school. And I walk my dog in the evening. And 4 of them live on Ka'aka, and I know where the other 3 live on Kimi Street.
Mhm.
They hang around Ho'ai'ai Park in the evening. So our security guard has gone there. He doesn't bother them, but he puts his lights on.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's more than that many kids there.
Mhm.
There was an incident where he really had to tell them that they had to leave.
Mhm.
So this is why I'm asking, because we don't know how else. I actually yelled at the group because they passed my street.
Yeah.
And I was at the corner when these 4 kids came, and I yelled. I know where they live, because that's the home
Mhm.
that we have fireworks problems.
I see. You
So
can call 911 too, especially if there's an argument. But like you said,
there wasn't no argument. They knew,
Yeah.
I mean, because they slowed down once I yelled.
Mhm. Just be careful with that, though. Just
Yeah.
you're gonna do what you're gonna do, but I'm just
Yeah, no, I mean,
careful.
I've been in
not worth it. sometimes.
fireworks, so I know.
And then
But
if Makanani knows about it, he's
I don't know because he
Okay.
never called me back.
Okay, I'll get in touch with him, but he's the one who gave me this handout. So
Yeah, no, he's good about it. I know you folks are busy.
Okay.
So I figured we were coming to this meeting, so I was just gonna make note of it because I'm sure, I think we've been seeing a lot more of one police officer roaming in Village Park in Royal Cunha.
Mhm.
And so even our security guard had noted times he's seen.
Mhm.
You know, being visible is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you know who's going to be on duty,
Mhm.
you can kind of let them know the area.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, question? I'll go on this side. He was next. Member Debbie?
Hello.
I have two questions. It's, it states here that they're permitted to ride on residential sidewalks and must follow 10 miles per hour speed limit.
Mhm.
So who has the right of way on the sidewalk, the pedestrian or the bike riders?
I'd say pedestrians, but have to share walk if they are permitted according to the law, right? You know what I mean?
10
So
miles.
what is the scenario you're trying to, what is the scenario? Like two of you
Yes.
crossing each other?
Yeah, I walk my dog on the sidewalk
Mhm.
and the bike riders are on the street. So,
Mhm.
I don't see any problem. But now that they're permitted to go on the sidewalk,
They might have always been permitted to, just they're courteous. That's common courtesy, right? To let the pedestrian take the sidewalk and they can ride around. So that's a good thing.
okay, but now they know that they can ride on the
Well, I don't know.
sidewalk.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if they, I hope
Uh,
that does change where,
Okay,
because they know they can ride, now they're gonna just run into people, if they didn't know prior. So I
Well-
hope it continues on how you're saying the scenario.
so what's the rationale for allowing them to ride on the sidewalk rather than the bike lane? Bike lane.
That's something you gotta ask the legislators, and like I said, it may have always been that way. I would have to look up previous laws to see if that was, I don't think it was added. I think they're just letting the public know based on the electric bicycle laws that they are permitted to ride on residential sidewalks as long as they follow under 10 miles an hour, so that residents know that that's not illegal. And you call, hey, they're on the sidewalk, but that's technically not a violation as long as they're riding in a safe manner. So I don't know the rationale. Like I said, I didn't make the law, but I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, okay, the people that make the laws don't walk on the sidewalk.
Maybe. Okay.
Members to my right? Member Oshiro?
I had a quick question. Seems like the problem with the e-bikes is fairly recent, and seems to be getting worse. So, uh, can you tell us when you think this is going to get out of hand? I mean, there's more violations that I noticed you reported tonight. So, before it gets way too out of hand, at what point do you think we need to maybe change what we currently have in terms of the laws? Because the police are the first ones to see the problem. So, I think, and you're expressing some of that tonight with the statistics that you mentioned. So, how much longer do you think it'll be before it gets out of hand? Or is it already? I don't know.
Yeah, it deals to me, just personal opinion based on my observations. It's a lot to do with parenting, right? The kids not buying $3,000 e-bikes on their own. So it's just parents buying them these 50-mile-an-hour machines and not supervising them. So that's unfortunately sometimes the issue, is that the parents are not supervising the kids. And if that continues, then any law could be broken, right? So they are doing education. Like I know today Makanani went to the schools and trying to do education and whatnot, but
Follow-up
it starts in the
question
home.
Is, it's like fireworks. It's already out of hand, and the kids that play fireworks or cause some of the problem. I'm sure they're not the ones buying these thousands of dollars of fireworks. So it's the parents. So it's the same problem. If you say it's parents, maybe it is. I don't know, but I hope we don't get to the point where it's like fireworks and something tragic happens.
No, like we've seen, you mentioned there were tragic incidents that
Correct.
already did happen. So, mhm.
Oh, hold on. Member Chang?
One follow-up to our other board members'
Mhm.
comment about riding on the sidewalk. I believe we're allowed to ride regular bikes on the sidewalk and they
Mhm.
go about miles an hour. So the rationale, I believe, is that as long as it's a two-wheel item and it's going 10 miles an hour, it's fine on the sidewalk.
Makes
My
sense.
question comes around enforcement.
Mhm.
We've got parents that, like you said, are buying these $3,000 bikes, they're
Mhm.
50-mile-an-hour machines,
Mhm.
and they're giving them to minors. So when you do pull a minor over,
Yes.
how are you able to enforce the law on a minor?
So they allow us to cite and try to get the parents' information. If the parent is present, then we can cite the parent. But then all of the citations go to court. So they were supposed to go and face a judge face to face, and then the judge can determine the penalty. That phase of the process, I'm not sure what happens.
Mhm.
So we are allowed, even like fireworks on certain occasions, July, 4th of July and New Year's, we are allowed to cite minors if we do come across. Most other offenses, especially if it's criminal, we shall arrest the minor. We cannot cite them. So these are violations, so they are allowed to be cited. Just like a minor driving a car, we can cite them for various violations as long as they have a license.
And if you can't locate the parent, then the kid just gets away with it. So there's no repercussion.
Well, we do have status offense laws, which is non-criminal, such as injurious behavior. So if they're doing wheelies and doing crazy riding, we can't arrest them for a status offense. And then the parent is required to come and talk to us. So if it's something more serious like that, then of course we have other tools that we can make sure to talk to the parents. If not, most times we call them on the phone. Parents, normally they're riding in their own neighborhoods and the parents come down, right? And there is also a way to impound the bike too if it's not registered. So of course the parent's gonna come down and make sure that doesn't happen. And at least we can identify them, counsel them, and then make sure they go to the court date
Yeah.
and put their name on the citation as well.
Okay, thank you.
Member Andrade?
Okay, so they're supposed to have license on these bikes?
It depends on here. If it's not, so this one, motor must not exceed 750 watts and must have pedals. So those, if it's 750 watts or more, those are the brand, the Surons usually, right? They don't have pedals and they can go 50 miles an hour that you see flying around. Those are considered similar to a dirt bike. So it has to be licensed to be driven on the roads. It can be driven in trails, but not on the roads. So those need license. If it's the one, say, for example, from Costco with the pedals and, it's smaller looking, those you don't need license for because they're considered bicycles.
Okay, now on the size of the sidewalk.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the connector road, Aiki Street, from Honowai to Village Park.
Mhm.
When that was built, it was built because they wanted to have enough room for bikers and walkers. And I think that's 10 to 12 feet. I was there when it was being
Yes.
done. The other sidewalks are way less.
Mhm.
So if you, your dog, and your husband or whatever are walking the dog
Mhm.
on a sidewalk and you get this bike, I'm going to tell you what happened to me.
Mhm.
A regular bike kid
Yes.
came zooming down Kupuna Loop and my dog went,
Mm.
and he was on a leash,
Yes.
but he didn't catch the kid. But, I panicked because the kid got scared and he hit the car. He didn't fall or anything. He just hit the car. So I grabbed the kid and I told my husband to hold the dog. And I asked him, "You okay?" And I was like,
Sorry, the mic.
well,
Yep.
I asked him what he was doing riding the bike like that
Yes.
because he would have hit one of us.
How old do you think?
The boy?
Yes.
I wanna say maybe 13.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, please, you gotta be careful because you're the one gonna get hurt.
Or so he could hurt you too if he.
Yeah, but he
Going that
came zooming
fast.
down there. We didn't even hear him coming.
Mhm.
So this is why I'm asking the size of the sidewalk. Does that matter? Are
Mm.
you talking about like Aiki
Yeah.
Street was made that way for both
Yeah.
pedestrians and bikers?
I don't think it mentions that in the law.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
size. Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Thank
Thank you.
Lieutenant, just for clarification, in regards to license, we're talking about the like similar to driver's license, but also all bikes have the bicycle license.
The
right?
registration.
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Harry?
Yes, I just want to say thank you for following up on our concerns that we brought up last month with Lieutenant Iwasaki.
Mhm.
We've noticed there's been some improvements, so just want to say thank you very much.
Yes, I'll pass on the word as well.
Do I have any more questions from the board to Honolulu Police Department? Members from our audience, our community? Hearing none, thank you and good to see you again, sir.
Thank you.
Next is our military report, our U.S. Army 59th Transportation Brigade. Welcome, sir.
Aloha and good evening, board members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lieutenant Colonel John Regnary. I am the 599th Transportation Brigade Plans and Exercises Officer. Pleasure to be here and deliver this military report from U.S. Army Hawaii. April Job Fair. The U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii will hold its next hiring fair on April 22nd. Alamoanu Military Reservation Gym from 8:30 to 2 p.m. This is open to the public. Advanced applications, you may go to www.himwr.com to learn of openings and how to apply online. Walk-ins are welcome and should bring 2 references, proof of ID, social security card, and a resume or application. Training advisory. U.S. Army Garrison publishes a monthly training advisory. Details for training remaining this month is as follows. Through March 31st, there will be day and night live fire on Schofield Barracks for artillery and mortar live fire training, as well as small arms blank fire at East Range for Ranger jungle tactics. Aviation training and demolitions training is concluded for March. An updated report will be published no later than April 1st. To receive the report when it is published at the start of each month, request a copy via email at usag.hawaii.comrel@army.mil. National Vietnam Veterans Day Parade. The National Vietnam Veterans Day Parade will take on Saturday, March 29th to pay tribute to those who served our nation for the cause of freedom and liberty. Opening ceremony will begin at 4:30 p.m. at Fort DeRussy, and parade will begin at 6 p.m. along King Kalakaua Avenue in Waikiki. Marching band, veteran groups, military units, as well as many community groups from Hawaii and the mainland will take part in this parade. To all who served in Vietnam, we thank you for your service and sacrifice. Pending your questions, that concludes my report. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Go ahead, Board Member DeGracia.
Yes, I do have a question. Since we're revisiting the issue of the Vietnam Memorial, I understand that there is a Tropic Lightning Museum at Schofield Barracks. If civilians were interested in visiting that or going there to look at the exhibits, is there a way that they might be able to arrange that with the Army, or do they need a sponsor to visit the museum?
There is a Tropic Thunder Museum. To get a pass, you know,
Yes. Hi, I'm Allison. I can reach out to Garrison and they can let us know how you can get base access. So if you have someone who does have military ID or a government civilian, that's typically the easiest way. But if you'd like, I could take down your contact information.
Sure, I'm certain there's probably Waipahū residents that might be interested in
Okay.
doing that, but don't have connection to the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem. I can get that information and bring it to the next board meeting if you'd like.
Thank you. Other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much, Chair. All right, moving on. Board business. We are looking for our vice chair. So do I hear any nominations from our board in regards to filling our vice chair vacancy?
I nominate Board Member Jason Chang for the seat of Vice Chair.
I second.
All right, it's been moved and second. It's open for discussion. Anybody have any questions? Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor of member Jayton Chang to assume the vice chair position, please say aye. Any oppose? Abstain? Okay, motion carries. Congratulations, Vice Chair Jayton Chang. Thank you. Let's see. We have 5 at-large seat board vacancies available at this time. Do I have any residents interested in filling the vacant seat? Must provide current proof of residency for our meeting. All right, sorry. Would you like to please introduce yourself and let us know your reasoning for joining our board? Go ahead.
Aloha guys, my name is Tom Plong. Recently just moved here to Waipahū, Waikele, and really interested in joining the board because it's time to step up. Instead of talking in the garage, take it to the board. I've been participating in my previous neighborhood in Pearl City for the past 2 years or so, and just attending meetings for the past 2 years, didn't become a board member. And so after moving here, it's like, it's time to do something a little more. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do I have any questions from the board for Tom? No. Do I hear a nomination to include or add Mr. Tom Plong to our Waipahū Neighborhood Board?
I'll make the nomination to have Tom, what is your last name?
Plong.
Plong. On the board.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? No further discussion. I will call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any oppose? Abstain? Hearing none, carries. Welcome to the board, Mr. Tom Plong.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short recess so that you can assume your duties right away.
Thank you.
I'd like to call our meeting back to order. Welcome again, Mr. Tom Plong, to the Waipahū Neighborhood Board, and we appreciate you stepping up. Yes, round of applause. Next item on our agenda is the 3 absence letter for members Chad Domingo, Jordana Ferreira, Kevin Wilson, and Annette Yamaguchi. I understand Jordana Ferreira and Annette Yamaguchi is not here today. Do any one of the members would like to say anything? Members?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Member Andrade.
Okay. Just to let the board know, Annette has been absent. She is in the mainland. Her sister is very ill, and so she chose to be there. And she does know that, you know, she didn't have time to put in the application. So she understands that she may not be on the board, but I'll still make her come to the board. So, but I wanted the board to know.
Thank you. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Go ahead, Member DeGracia.
In the instance of Board Member Jordana, perhaps it might be appropriate to defer the discussion of the letter for that because if I'm not mistaken, isn't she with the Green administration? So perhaps maybe her not being able to.
And she's actually at the city level now.
Okay. But in either case, I'm assuming that her duties probably result in her occasionally missing multiple meetings, perhaps. So,
Got it.
right. But I think perhaps maybe giving her the benefit of the doubt and waiting until she has the opportunity to give an explanation.
Thank you. Just for the record, their 3 absence letter was sent to our members, and I believe they're in receipt. So they have the opportunity to state their explanation. But I do see Member Chad Domingo here. Welcome back, as well as Member Kevin Wilson. So thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Oh, got it. Is there any motion to vacate their seats? Any motion? Hearing none. Thank you. Next item is the approval of our minutes from our Thursday, February 27, 2025 meeting. Board members, I hope you had a chance to review. Do we have any corrections? Any comments? Hearing none, I will okay. I was just advised no need for any motion since no actions. Thank you. The minutes have been approved. Next item on our agenda is the resident and community concerns. I'll start off with members. Do you have any resident or community concerns at this time? Member DeGracia.
Thank you, Chair. So this is probably directed more appropriately towards our congressional delegation, but also we have city council and state legislature here. I think it's worth bringing up. So on yesterday, Wednesday, the U.S. House of Representatives heard a resolution in one of its committees, HR 530. And basically what that is that resolution wants to conduct a study on why there is a heightened risk of all forms of cancer for individuals who served as pilots in the United States military from 1972 to 2004. And I think that this is pretty significant for a Hawaii nexus because of our population and local Ohana are either retired aviators or current ones. And so if possible, I'd like to ask both our local and our congressional legislators to look into supporting this and possibly seeing if there's a way that we can tie a nexus to our Hawaii Ohana, because if there are people here who are in the military or retired from the military and they're suffering from cancer as a result of service as a military aviator, I think that that's something important to look into. But I just wanted to have on the record that specifically if our congressional delegation could look into that and to supporting that resolution, I'd be appreciative. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Board Member DeGracia. Any other? Board Member Plong.
Thank you. Last night, I had the opportunity to meet with the Pearl City Neighborhood Board along with Rodney from Red Cross, and he was able to provide us some really insightful information in regards to hurricane safety and evacuation places and just shelters. And so I asked him to join us tonight, and here he is. So I'd like to introduce Rodney from Red Cross.
All right, thank you. Rodney, please introduce yourself, and we'll give you at least 3 minutes. Thank you.
Mahalo. Thank you. My name is Rodney Boucher. I am a past vice chair of the Eva Neighborhood Board a decade ago. I do appreciate your civic engagement. Thank you very much for being here. I am here as a volunteer with the Red Cross and with the Community Emergency Response Team Training Cell. We work with the Oahu Department of Emergency Management. We're all volunteers, and we work on providing communities the chance to be better prepared. We start with the individual, we work with the families, and we work with the communities. A little bit of backdrop. We did this 10 to 12 years ago here, as well as with Pearl City and Kapolei, et cetera. COVID kind of got in the way of a lot of things, and now we're trying to rebuild. Part of that rebuilding is very much substantiated by what's just happened in Los Angeles with the wildfires and being as prepared as possible and for them. CERT is that Community Emergency Response Team Training. That is one avenue that is available to communities to help build your own preparedness as a community, as an individual, as a family member. In reference to that, last night, Larry Vieira of Pearl City, he wanted to make sure I let you know that the Pearl City Neighborhood Board would like to combine, if possible, with your board to set up CERT training, Red Cross training, whatever you want to do. I know your next meeting's not till May, and I would like a request to be put on as a presenter for your May 22nd board to give further information in reference to that. Most of you, all of you on board, didn't have enough copies to put out, but the Red Cross does put out little flyers, and it is very substantial. Most things can be found at honolulu.gov/DEM, Department of Emergency Management, Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, as well as the redcross.org. You can find out more information in reference to that. On the back table, and it all is up there, I put out free hand lotion. The story behind that is the Halekulani Hotel gave the Red Cross 8 pallets of hand sanitizer, lotion, shampoo, and shower gel for the Maui wildfires. We're down to a pallet. I have plenty to give out still. So you have some hand lotion on the table. I have more in the car, and I have more in the warehouse to give out. And that works out great for CERT trainings. And you have the handouts, and I'm standing by for any questions you might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rodney. Anybody have any questions? Hearing none, we look forward to putting it on our agenda in one of our future meetings. So thank you. We'll be in touch.
One last thing, I know the Army representative, Friday at Punch Bowl, tomorrow is Vietnam Veterans Ceremony at Punch Bowl in recognition of those Vietnam veterans who paid the ultimate price. That's where I'm wearing this buddy poppy as a symbol of that. So,
Wow, thanks for letting us know. Right on. Any other board members have resident concerns? No, members of our audience, do you have any residents here at this time wanted to share your concern? Hearing none. Thank you. We're moving on. Tonight we have a presentation by Ms. Roberta Hiki Gomez. She is from the Mediation Center of the Pacific. She'd like to share the Early Eviction Mediation Program. Welcome, Roberta.
Thank you so much for having me. Is this on? Can you hear me now? Is that better? Perfect. I'll give a moment for this to load. So I just wanted to say thank you so much to the board and the community for having Mediation Center of the Pacific here. A lot of the work that we do is helping the community and empowering them to resolve their own disputes. I run the early eviction mediation program along with a few other programs, the Kupunapono program, as well as the DOE SPED program. But tonight I'll be talking about the early eviction mediation program. A little bit of history and backstory around it. It started in 2021. It was launched as part of the Act 57 COVID-19 eviction moratorium. So it required all landlords prior to eviction to engage in mediation, and that was also paired with rental assistance. During that time period, we identified 6,000 tenants who are in arrears on Oahu. We were able to mediate 1,342 cases. And out of 3,050, we achieved an 85% agreement rate, and we kept 90% of tenants in their homes. As we moved forward in 22-23, Act 57 expired in August of 2022. Our program continued with private funds. We had limited assistance that was available. There wasn't the guaranteed rental assistance that was coming from the state prior. But we moved forward. We had 73% of early landlord tenant cases that resulted in agreement, and we kept moving forward to where we are now. So while our program doesn't pair with rental assistance, we still feel that there's a value in mediating those issues prior to getting to court. The primary purpose of this program is to divert cases away from the court so the court doesn't become backlogged, and it also empowers people to find solutions that work for those parties. One of the things that's great about this program is that it's mutually beneficial. It's beneficial to both landlords and tenants. On the landlord side, we see that it reduces time spent recovering rents and navigating the legal system, which can often be anywhere between 1 and 2 months to be able to resolve. And that doesn't include times that were spent trying to collect rents that were in arrear. It also saves landlords money, and that can be money that was spent in the eviction process, anywhere from $500 to $10,000. We know that agreements foster better relationships between landlords and tenants. So when those tenancies end, the apartments and the homes that they're renting stay off in better condition. And then when breakdowns happen, because not every single agreement will work moving forward, there are always going to be certain cases where there might be issues that come up further down the road. Landlords can bring a status letter letting the court know that they've done everything to resolve. They can bring the agreement, and they can show that they've made steps to move the case forward. And know that it's a benefit to tenants, greater housing stability and predictability, and that's whether tenants remain in the home or whether tenants come to a reasonable time frame to be able to move to a new place. We know that fewer evictions on record can be beneficial for tenants because they can be stigmatized. It can impact future housing decisions, whether that's being able to apply for another rental, or that might also impact their Section 8 housing subsidies. And we know that can be catastrophic, and that can lead to houselessness. We also know that agreements between tenants and landlords just provide greater ease in relationships in the community, and that greater community stability in terms of housing. As our program has progressed in the FY 24-25, about 33% of landlord tenant cases that are coming to us are EEM cases. And what the benefit of EEM is that we achieve between a 92 and 93% agreement rate. So we know when people are willing to come forward in this voluntary process of mediation, we find an agreement that works for those parties. And we also see that cases are on the rise with about a 60% increase from our Q1 cases. We also serve a variety of diverse members of the community, and oftentimes that involves serving community members who are in different areas, including we serve the Asian community, the Filipino community, the Hawaiian, Korean. We have a demographic breakdown of all the different percentages, but what we also serve is other language communities as well. And of the other language communities, we often provide interpretation service to help assist them moving forward. So of those other language cases, we serve about 60% Chuukese, 13 Ilocano, 7% Mandarin, 13 Marshallese, and about 7% Samoan. The way the EEM program works is it provides landlords and tenants with the opportunity to talk with the help of an impartial mediator and negotiate agreements. If English isn't the participant's primary language, the Mediation Center will provide an interpreter. Meetings are held through Zoom, and this allows for greater ease of being able to schedule. It also allows for greater comfort of the parties. Oftentimes, tenants can be more comfortable being in their own home and Zooming into mediation. Before mediation, participants are required to electronically sign an agreement, a confidentiality agreement, as well as once the session is scheduled, it's scheduled for 1.5 hours at a day and time that works for both parties. If you reach an agreement, the mediator will put the agreement into writing to be signed electronically. EM scheduling, those cases can be scheduled within a 48-hour period. And then when you look at backlog of cases when it comes to going through the court process, people can oftentimes be months and months to be able to resolve these issues. I've even heard up to 6 months to be able to resolve these issues. And so typically cases can resolve within a 3 to 5 business day window as a result. We've also been incorporating tools into our early eviction mediation program, and we've been partnering with other community members to create and develop these tools in our stakeholder group meeting. We have the eviction calculator. This eviction calculator helps landlords to analyze the exact cost for them in the eviction process, because when we talk about it's anywhere between 500 and 10,000, those are abstract numbers. This calculator allows them to put in their portfolio, the size of their units, the average cost it is to paint, repair, turn over, change locks, go through all the legal proceedings, and it gives them a real-time analysis of what that eviction is going to cost them on top of it, so they can understand those figures going in. We've also partnered with Hawaiian Community Assets to provide a budget calculator for tenants. This allows tenants to be able to understand their financial considerations going into it, to be able to look at their finances in a more realistic way and decide, is this home situation the best for me fiscally? And then it also helps them make decisions as to if they enter into a payment plan, can they live up to that payment plan based on what their income is? We've also been working on legislation to be able to move forward in terms of having a mandated period for mediation. Again, we've also been working with tenant kukua hubs, and this is where we've been working with community organizations to be able to provide a place where people go to for community services, where they can explain to them the mediation process, help them fill out an online form, and oftentimes provide a space for them to mediate from if they don't have it already. We've partnered with HCA, who is our first kukua hub. We're working with Family Promise. We're developing one with Waikiki Community Center, and we would ideally like to establish these kukua hubs all over Oahu to serve the island at large. For EM requests, I have a QR code here. If anyone's interested in scanning it, it takes you to our website. You can also go to mediatehawaii.org, click contact us if you're interested in scheduling a mediation, and then you'll fill out an online form such as this one, and it will have your information where you put in your demographic information that we collect for fundraising purposes. And then we also collect all of your contact information to be able to schedule a mediation. I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you. Great presentation and a very underutilized service. I'm glad that you shared it with us. Do you have any questions from our board member, Nathan Chang?
You mentioned on average, you folks have a 92 to 93% agreement rate. I'm curious what happens to the remaining 7 to 8% that do not result in an agreement?
So there are a variety of different cases. One, sometimes cases just settle without having an agreement, so they move forward. Other times there's an impasse, so not every claim can come to resolution. So sometimes there's just not enough will to move it forward.
And are they referred to other programs from?
Of course, yeah. We oftentimes refer to legal aid and legal services in the community, and we let them know. And part of our process, as I said, is it's very much empowering the people who are coming into this program and getting this service. So we refer them to AUW's 211 in order to get rental assistance. We try and give them legal services and assistance where they might need it. And we approach it on a case-by-case basis to really identify if mediation is the right method to move forward for them.
Thank you. Member Oshiro?
Can you two things? To this eviction mediations, what other forms of mediation does the organization do? And is there a cost to any of these mediations for the people that participate?
Sure. So the Mediation Center of the Pacific offers mediation services in a variety of different areas. Typically, people come to us that we've become known for our divorce mediation proceedings. We also handle landlord-tenant cases coming from district court. We also handle neighbor disputes. We handle Department of Education SPED cases. We have Kapuna Pono cases, which are around elder care and family disputes and family conferencing. So we handle a wide variety, pretty much any dispute that you could think of where people need to come together and they don't necessarily need to be involved in a legal process. We try and help them resolve those issues on their own. And then as far as fees, we have a sliding scale fee for services, except for the early eviction mediation program. This program is completely free to both landlords and tenants.
Right. One more follow-up question. Go ahead.
One more follow-up. Does Mediation Center also do, I know you did this in the past, but do you still do like community mediation? For example, if there's something in the, for example, a development and the community doesn't like it and, you know, somebody's trying to come in, do you do that kind of mediation still?
We do all kinds of mediations. As I said, we'll take it on a case-by-case basis. So if we feel like we have the right formation of mediators who are skilled to handle it at the moment, as well as we're adequately prepared to address it, of course.
But it's voluntary, so both parties have to comply, right? Yeah.
Yes, both parties have to comply.
Thank you. Members to my left, do you have any questions for the Mediation Center of the Pacific? Go ahead.
Are the settlement legal enforceable?
So yes, it's an agreement that's come to by both parties. It's a signed, almost quasi contract for them to be able to enter into. So it's not legally binding in the way a court order would be, but at the same time, it's agreement that both of them have signed into.
Thank you. Any further questions? Hearing none, thank you so much for your presentation. And that's good to know that service, the early eviction mediation program is a free service.
Thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you.
I have flyers if anyone would like and cards if anyone needs.
Perfect. And we look forward to possibly bringing you out again in the future to talk about other programs that can benefit our community.
Sure, of course, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item on our agenda is the elected officials. I believe our mayor's representative is not here. He did send communication that I would like to read to the board. And I believe the board had also received just a memo for record below regarding the concerns addressed at our last board meeting. Let's see. Highlights and announcement. This month's highlights from the mayor's newsletter is that the city's Waipahū Art Initiative makes its debut, celebrating Oahu's cultural and historical sites. Kumu Ola Ho, a new transitional housing shelter for homeless individuals, opens at Iwilei Center. And Mayor Blangiardi introduces Roy Mihira, the city's new director of homeless solutions. An important update for Oahu residents on FEMA's updated flood insurance. Also, Honolulu gets designated as a bicycle-friendly community and what we're doing to improve. So look out for the mayor's newsletter. It's available and can be found online at honolulu.gov/mayor/newsletter. Department issues follow-up. Crosswalk concern. Member Tumbaga noted that she put in a request regarding speeding and running the red light at the intersection of Waipahū Street and Moko'ula Street, originally reported as Waipahū and Pa'iwa. She suggested installing speed bump humps or some kind of traffic mitigation measure. The Department of Transportation Services thanks the board for clarifying the location, and they will conduct an investigation and will inform the board of their findings by the end of the August 2025 for that meeting. That ends his report. If there are any concerns for the mayor's office, please direct them to the mayor's representative. Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is Council Member Matt Wire.
Aloha Chair, board members, members of the community. Hope everyone had a wonderful Prince Kuhio Day. I did distribute our newsletter. I have the information for the nearest town hall that's going to be at Mililani High School on April 24th. I know that's a little ways away. You can go to honolulu.gov, and there's a link right at the top when you go to the main page that has all of mayor's upcoming town halls. I know the Nanakuli one is going on tonight. That would have been the other closest one, but I believe the board is recessed on this evening. Wanted to provide some community highlights. Wanted to recognize Waikele Elementary School doing their yearly opera. It's actually quite amazing. The third graders do it in conjunction with the Hawaii Opera Theater. The older classes write the lyrics to the performances, and then the students actually choreograph it with the assistance of the opera. And then also, we were lucky to present awards at the Kunia Orchid Show that they just had. Did want to provide an update. Pohala Station, Makai entrance. HART did put funding into the budget for beginning the planning and design. I know that it seems like this is ongoing, and so it's hard to think that things may actually follow through. But I do think we can be a little bit more hopeful, given the changes that occurred. I think the initial barriers involved the need to eminent domain or take some of the adjacent parcels. But given the change in the FEMA maps, the current parcel is no longer in the flood zone, and so it makes it more feasible to go forward. So they're hoping to begin the planning and design phase this fiscal year. Of course, understanding the construction itself would take several years. And then, of course, wanted to recognize Waipahū High School for their Pi Theta Kappa induction ceremony. Such an amazing organization. I think Waipahū High School is the first to have an actual high school Pi Theta Kappa. And for those that aren't familiar, these are students that excel academically by taking college courses. Some of them as early as the summer after their 8th grade year before they start high school. Did want to also point your attention to the Young Entrepreneurs Program. There are several high schools that have some products that are for sale, including Waipahū High School, and would just encourage you to check it out because the winning team gets a trip to DC. And so there's an opportunity, a few more days to purchase items on their food items. There's a lot of cool stuff. And so if you haven't checked it out, I would definitely encourage you to. We'll also just note it's in the newsletter, but this marks the 10-year anniversary of the Honouliuli Monument being declared. So that's one of 2 national parks we have on Oahu. Of course, many people are familiar with Pearl Harbor, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with the prior interment site just up over here, 160 acres. So during the course of this year, every month there'll be highlights. You can visit the nps.gov/hono, H-O-N-O website. That's National Park website for this site. That'll outline all the different events today. This morning, we had there was an event at the Japanese Chamber of Commerce where they presented on some of the history. And throughout the rest of the year, each month, they'll be looking at uses of the site prior to Hawaii or prior to its use, particularly Native Hawaiian usage of the area and the archaeological and cultural significance, and then looking, of course, at its plantation history and then its use as internment during World War II, both for local Japanese residents as well as other residents on Oahu, including Korean, Filipino, German, and then, of course, POWs that were brought over from the war and housed there. And so I think it's really important opportunity and good opportunity to learn the history of the area or better familiarize ourselves with the history of the area. We do have our legislative update on the back page. I'll note that Bill 15, the cesspool conversion grant program, is still moving through council. Bill 18 the single-use plastic bottle bill is still moving as well. Bill 61, our wheelie bill, did pass out and is going to mayor for signing. And so with that passage, as we said, it's just another tool in the toolkit. It provides a broad definition of an e-bike, and so really anything with a motor and two wheels. So it makes it easier for enforcement, and then of course a very clear standard, right? And I think just to echo what HPD was mentioning earlier, I think we want to ensure that we're filling these vacancies so they can be responding to incidents in the community. But just as, I think we previously talked about in December, just how important it is for our neighbors and our families to understand just how dangerous some of these e-bikes are. We have seen incidents, including in Waipahū. And so I think it's important for us to really evaluate and get that information out to the community. Appreciate PD, of course, being in our schools. We've talked to the Department of Transportation Services about trying to get more digital advertising out for folks that aren't digesting the news every day. I think it is a really tough situation because just from stories I've heard, one, when you have youth speeding on an e-bike, it is a dangerous situation, especially when HPD does a pursuit, right? And so they have to navigate that very delicately. I think it's important for families to understand that if an HPD officer interacts with your child or family member, really they're doing that and sharing information to look out for their safety. And I share that because I know some parents have gotten upset or, don't like when HPD interferes, but really I think this is an opportunity for us as a community to really educate each other. The city, is limited, but I know that the state's been working on measures as well, and so I'm hopeful for those outcomes the legislative session. I did highlight a few items. We'll have more, of course, once budget season is done. At the bottom of the newsletter of items that I wanted to mention one that's not here. There's the Meadows parcel in Cunha. There was supposed to be a golf course, right? And then that fell through. 5 acres are up for sale right now. So we did meet with the landowner. We talked to Parks and the Department of Planning and Permitting, and we did put funding in the budget for acquisition of that. And so they're currently evaluating how we may be able to go forward as a city. Can't promise that it's going to materialize, but wanted to give you a heads up so no one is like, oh, how come you didn't tell us about it beforehand? But I think our hope is that to better utilize that space to serve the community. We talked to Parks about for a district park, for example, you need about 10 acres or more. And so since then, we have talked about owners of the other adjacent parcels possibly being willing to sell as well. And so those are conversations that we're having. And so, of course, I'll keep you updated on that as we go forward. I think Board Member Oshiro had asked at the last meeting about the ideal location for a landfill. That was a follow-up question that I received. My position hasn't changed since the last time I talked about it. I think either the two sites remaining, I'm open to community input on which is more appropriate. Of course, the two sites remaining are, Waimanalo Gulch, right? The option would be asking the Land Use Commission to extend operations there. And of course, if they wanted to expand, doing a boundary amendment. I'm sure that's contingent at the Mayor's Town Hall that's going on right now. And so I'm open to feedback from our community on whether that's appropriate. The other option, of course, is the quarry on the windward side, which the administration is doing some due diligence on right now. And again, I've talked to legislators and community members from that side that don't like it as well. And so I'm open to feedback from both and understand the pressures and the concerns that our island as a community is under. I think our position on its location above our fresh drinking water just has to be, where we start the conversation and preventing it there. That's shared by our council as a body after we unanimously passed Resolution 25-3 that I co-introduced with Councilmember Cordero. And we have our budget provisos submitted, and we'll likely be hearing those on Monday, which would just prevent funding that's in our current proposed budget that we received by Mayor, preventing that funding utilized to do landfill siting above our freshwater drinking sources. And so As I've said before, I do respect the work of Director Babcock, understand that he's in a tough situation. He's been transparent with the community when we did a town hall in Central Oahu, just acknowledging that, he doesn't necessarily need to put it in this particular site. He just needs a place to put a landfill. What we're working on as a city is, of course, the legislation I've talked about before that we introduce that would increase what we can be composting. We're looking at recycling that ash, which could reduce 60 to 90% of the ash that's going into a landfill. That ash could be used in things like construction, asphalt for roads. And of course, we're looking at all the other ways we can reduce the garbage that we produce. And so happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Councilman. Any questions for, go ahead, Board Member Shiro.
Thanks, Matt, for that follow-up on the landfill, because we knew that already going in, when the question was asked. Because if you eliminate all of the sites that are over the aquifers, then that's gone. And if you say we're going to listen to the community, both communities will tell you they don't want it in their community, either at Waimanalo Gulch on the west side or at the quarry site, Kailua. So the only option that was left is what Director Babcock said, was shipping it out. So is the council serious about that? Because you don't have any, too many more options. We're going to have waste. So the question is where or in what form or what are we going to do? So all of the options that the city presented, are, out unless we pick one and overcome the problems with any community opposition. So is that accurate, or do you think that we have a favorite site?
So, no, that's a great question. And I would stand on what I said. I welcome, there might be 24 different perspectives on the best site. I'll say this, that, when we're looking at where to place it, I think Director Babcock is correct that we do need a landfill location. I think once PVT closes, that's the landfill private right now in Nanakuli. That takes our construction and demolition waste. Once that closes, I think there's an anticipation that the city landfill, in addition to taking the ash, would be responsible for that C&D waste as well, that construction and demolition waste. By reducing the ash that we put in, again, if we recycle it, that's going to reduce 60 to 90%. So the amount of ash going in is going to be very minimal. I think in terms of the construction and demolition waste, we want to be looking at recycling what we can from that as well. And so I hear you in saying that there's going to be community opposition wherever it goes. I think my main concern with the current proposed site is that it was already reviewed by the Landfill Advisory Committee. Board of Water Supply had already, relayed their objection to that particular location, and it was already moved on from. It wasn't assessed further. There wasn't an objection to Board of Water Supply's initial objection in 2022. And they went forward with doing due diligence at the other locations we talked about, like Waipahū Soccer Complex, some places on the west side, other locations that have been assessed, and then returned to this location again in December of last year. And so for at least myself, I just consider the current proposed location is off the table already, because I do believe Board of Water Supply has the authority to enforce its administrative rules. And, in terms of identifying which site on the site or the quarry is appropriate, I would say that either way, given the timeline in the current Land Use Commission order, the city is already going to have to go back and at least ask for an extension, because there's no way that we can build another landfill, whether it's near Wahiwa or, on the east side, in time to satisfy the order. So it is going to be a multi-year process in that sense. Shipping it off maybe something we have to arrive at some point, but the cost is just going to be super high. And so really, I think the best route we have is to continue to reduce, continue to reuse, continue to compost as much as we can, which I think is really the goal of, the discussion on single-use plastics. It's not to say let's get it all out, but let's provide the space for innovative conversations about when we do have to use single-use, because we don't want to use single-use if we don't have to. But like Japan, for example, University of Tokyo has some really cool bottles that are these polymers that will dissolve in ocean water or when it's buried, but holds up just like plastic. So there's all kinds of like really cool technology for us to be looking at, but I don't want to myself either. So yeah, I'll turn it back over to Chair, but hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Board members to my left, any questions? Go ahead, Member Terry.
I have two questions.
Yes.
The first question, since we're talking about recycling and waste, landfills, et cetera. My question is that at one time, the proposal was for composting was going to take effect this year. What is the delay and when can you anticipate that to occur?
Yeah, good question. So we anticipate food waste. We did introduce a bill to push the food waste deadline back to next April. Essentially, what we're doing is finalizing the permitting and infrastructure that's going in. So we're anticipating by September of this year, September or October, there should be a facility that's capable of composting the green waste, the food waste, and manufactured compostables. Just to, provide some wiggle room, the food waste by ordinance has to go in by April of next year, assuming the deadline gets extended, but they could start as early as the end of last quarter of this year. The manufactured compostables will likely get pushed out a little bit further because right now we're having to work on regulations relating to what type of manufactured compostables they are, because some of them have what's called PFAS. I think a lot of us have heard about that. And we want to ensure that we're not putting PFAS into the compost. But that's something that ENB stakeholders and the Department of Health at the state are collaborating on right now. Yeah.
My second question regarding the e-bike issues. I know there've been so many bills introduced. It's been very difficult to keep up, which is getting to readings, etc. During the, introduction to all these bills, were there any consideration regarding responsibility being to the parents on a minor child on a serious infraction? Because as example, as HPD had said, a lot of these e-bikes are $3,000, $1,000 plus $3,000, and no child can afford to purchase those. So the responsibility does rely on the parents. So is there anything in terms of parents' responsibility for minors in terms of including that in any bill?
Yeah. I'll try to answer that as concisely as possible, but I think that's a really good point. And you're yes, in the sense that there is liability or there could be criminal actions, generally if we're talking against a parent, if there's some type of negligent activity and there's an injury or something that occurred. Or when we're looking at the framework, at least that the council's been working on, we're very limited in what we can do by state law. And so why the bills we've been putting through are broad and include essentially the is for why we're doing these quote unquote emergency pieces of legislation, because the traffic code does allow the council to act if there's like a public safety need. And so we've been trying to kind of fill a little bit of the gaps that exist or provide some tools, knowing that there's, stakeholder groups going on and bills currently pending at the state legislature as well. So I don't want to overstep or speak for those, but I do think that it needs collaborative effort. I am hopeful just overall. Fireworks came up, for example, there's all these issues where we see state and city, operating in different spaces. with Major Lambert going over from HPD to head the Department of Law Enforcement. I think, and my hope is we'll see greater collaboration between the city and the state on enforcement issues and a better understanding of how each agency is able to respond and what tools they need.
Thank you. Any other questions for Councilmember Matt Wire? Hearing none.
Mahalo.
Thank you so much for your report. Do I have a representative from Council Member Val Kimoto's office? Seeing none. Let's see. Councilmember Augie Talbo's office. We have Aaron. Thank you, Aaron.
Well, council member, you are really tall. Okay, aloha chair, board members. Aaron Michael Ho here from Councilmember Talbot's office. I did distribute the report earlier, and there are extra copies on the back table at your convenience. In the interest of time, I just highlight a few things, then I'll be happy to take back any questions. First off, budget season at the council is in full swing, so we included a centerfold infographic in the report. Has more information about the budget process along with important dates. Please know that you're invited to attend and participate in the process, and we hope to see some of you there. Secondly, our office met with City Department of Transportation Services last week, where we discussed some upcoming projects that will benefit Waipahū. Regarding complete streets, the shared use path, a project from Waipio Point Access Road, that's in front of Waipahū High School and by the Aloha Clubhouse. That project is currently in procurement and is slated for construction in the upcoming fiscal year. As part of the Oahu pedestrian plan, Complete Streets is considering high priority walkway improvement on Honowai and Waipahū streets to be funded by federal monies. Our office participated in a walking site visit with planning, which includes high volume locations like Waipahū Elementary School. We have asked that they keep us as updated as possible, and we will provide those updates for you as they become available. From transportation engineering, DTS says they're at 60% design completion with the Depot Street bikeway improvements. That's the project that will install a bike path on Waipahū Depot Street which will extend from the bike path to Hikimoi. This is the final design work is currently in purchasing, and the designs are anticipated to be finalized in 2026. Managers Drive and Hiapo Street intersection improvements. DTS said the designs are 60% complete. DTS is finalizing the NEPA approvals, the National Environmental Protection Act approvals needed to proceed with the final designs. We're told that the environmental docs will be completed by the summer, and then they can come and propose the final designs to the board by the end of the year, if not sooner. About Mahoy Street improvements, the construction bids initially came in higher than anticipated. So they're having to go back and request additional federal funding. And so as part of the process, they have to resubmit to HDOT and to City one time for review and before they can re-advertise the project. That project is expected to go out for re-advertisement in late 2025, pending availability of funds. At the last board meeting, there was a question about landfill sites. When I proposed that question to the council member, he said that in his view, all of the current proposed sites are either over the aquifer and or would create foreseeable problems in the future. So he's not really willing to vote for any of the current proposals. He would encourage board members, community members to go and experience the city's Tour de Trash program and experience new technologies or newer technologies in refuse processing. And he hopes that we can go back to the table, back to discussion, and talk about implementing newer technologies to extend life of landfills or just prevent future problems. There was another question about Managers Drive Roundabout, and as I said a few moments ago, DTS plans to come and update toward the end of the year once the NEPA approvals come back and our plans are finalized. And then lastly, our office is coordinating a beautification of Moloalo Street at Ace Medical, extending down to the Heart Station on April 4th from 3 to 4:30 p.m. If you're available, please come out with many hands. The work should be very quick. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Aaron. Do you have any questions for Councilmember Augie Talbot's office? Member Terry?
Yes, I have a question.
Shoot.
Regarding the roundabout on Hiapo and Main Street.
Yes.
My question is, what design are you guys needing? Because when you look at it, all you have to do is put the, those barriers back on that's gone. So I'm
Okay.
not understanding
Okay.
why it has to have a approval for design.
So the reason it has to have approvals is because of where the funding comes from. Like I know that one of the issues with that particular roundabout was from federal highways. And then also with, again, the NEPA requirements. So at one point, like the roundabout was going to be very industrial looking, it was going to be very concrete, very, just like curb and whatnot. And so that got thrown out because they said it had to be greener. So then another proposal came out that was very green, but then they said it wasn't constructive, or what is it, industrial enough. So they arrived at a couple of other options that current proposal with for NEPA, and that's looking like it's going to go through, but until it does, we don't know. So there's there has to be this balance of the concrete versus the green. So that's kind of what they're trying to find.
So I guess no proposed date at this time, because there's a lot of people speeding around that area.
Well, okay. So with that, they said that they're going to come and present the whatever completed designs before the end of the year. And with that is we've been advocating for HPD to increase their presence, but that's kind of up to their resources. We can only ask them so much.
Thank you. Any further questions? Member Oshiro?
I had a question. Councilmember Wire in his written report announced or said that HART is looking to put into the budget, the CIP budget, funds for the Po'uhala Nation, Akai entrance. So I know that's in Councilmember Toba's district, correct? So do you know where it is in the CIP budget that he's got in his newsletter?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can go and find out for you.
And do you know what that figure, unless Councilmember Wire knows, but
Again,
what-
not off the top of my head, but would you happen to know that? Okay.
you don't know what it is?
Not right now, no. Again, I can get the answer for you.
Oh, okay, can you, or
Yeah.
someone next time?
Okay.
At least, because every time we've heard a figure, it's always gone up, so I'm curious as to what it is now, and hopefully it does get put into the budget. So can you put that in for Toba's ear that it's in his district? So if that goes through, it'll be a big number to report back that he got that in his district, the funds for the Po'uhala.
I'll take that back. Thank you.
Or hopefully not in the reverse where we don't get it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions for Councilmember Councilmember Augie Talbot's office? Excuse me. It's getting late, so thank you, Aaron. Next honor is Governor Josh Green's representative, who I have found out is not able to attend this evening. I do see Senator Michelle Kidani and Senator Henry Aquino's report made available here and to the board. So I'd like to call on Representative Corey Chun.
Good evening, Chair, board members. See, you have my written report. I also have a report for Representative Rochelle Lamasao, who's on the Finance Committee and reviewing bills, because this is kind of a crucial week right now for bills going through finance. But you have my report. I just want to highlight a few things. With regards to the budget, the House passed over our version of the budget. The Senate is working on their version. One of the things that I wanted to get in there was funding for improvements to Kamehameha Highway between Pearl City and Coca Boulevard. So Mililani, if you live on that side or you live in Crestview, LA, you know that it's a rough road. And even the neighbors who live right on Kamehameha Highway complain about the noise just from the traffic. When they hit those rough roads, it gets pretty loud. So that's one of my priorities this term, is just to try to make sure that gets done sooner than later. With regard to e-bikes, so there are measures moving through the legislature to address e-bikes. One of the biggest things is we needed to amend the traffic code, specifically with the definition of motorcycles, to also include high-speed electric bikes, because essentially some of these bikes are basically electric motorcycles. And also requiring insurance. I don't know if that proposal is still going through, and age limits. And with regard to parental responsibility, that's always been up to the discretion of the judge. So I know we've had some measures going through looking at fees and community service for minors, but until that measure passes, basically if youth or someone under the age of 18 is found guilty or convicted of certain offenses, the judge has discretion to levy fines on the parents. I also want to touch on Board Member DeGracia's comment. So, one of the things that I introduced back when I first got elected was a measure to do some research, have the UH Cancer Center do some research on cancer incidences among Filipinos, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, because the incidence of cancer of those populations are a lot higher in some. It got morphed the following year into focusing on cancer disparities for survivors of the Lahaina wildfire. And this year it actually got morphed again into focusing on the, cancer incidences of people who live around the Mamanalo Gulch landfill. The difficult part with that is similar to a lot of cancer research, right? We usually the state can't just fund an entire, millions and millions of dollars to get these longitudinal studies. What normally happens is that the state puts up a small amount of money to get this started. And then what the UH Cancer Center researchers do is then apply for grants with the National Institutes of Health. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of cuts to that funding. So, it'll be really difficult to ask taxpayers to fit the entire bill of a longitudinal study that usually takes years and years and years to complete. But it's something which I'd still be willing to look at, because cancer is one of the something I'm passionate about, and knowing that that's an issue for aviators, that's something I'd be willing to look into. I know it's getting late, so I guess with that I'll conclude my report and just be open to any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions from our board members? Board Member Chang?
Very fast question, I promise. In regards to parental responsibility and minors on the e-bike, I don't expect you to know this answer, so you probably have to go back and ask somebody, and that's fine.
Okay.
But what laws do we have currently on the books, or how does CPS get involved? You've given a minor, as a parent, a dangerous instrument. So if I gave a knife and he cut himself, I'd probably be taken into custody, and my child would probably be taken away from me. You've given a child a bike that can go 50 miles an hour. You have endangered your child. At that point, what do we have the power to do as legislators, as law enforcement, as anything? Because there are parents out there in these cases that are giving their children basically a deadly weapon.
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I will say this, when we're looking at criminal laws, it's a very delicate balancing act, because we have a strong sense of parental rights, and to remove someone's parental rights is a very drastic step. So I can actually take a look at that and see what exactly what would
Because
happen in such a
at
situation.
the end of the day, right, you remove their parental rights, because they're putting their child in danger, or we have a child who's passed on. So I would rather have the child with us and a mad parent. But that's why I'm not where you're at.
Any questions, Member Cheryl?
Yeah, I had a quick question. And you mentioned this, Representative Chan, that you're trying to change the definition of these e-bikes, especially those that can go up to 50 miles an hour, to be in the same category as like a motorcycle. Does that mean, did you mean to say that if you did that, it would be required to get proper licenses and also insurance?
Yes, so it's similar to what the city did. Current legislation separates e-bikes into 3 categories.
Yeah, because that would be actually a deterrent
Yeah, that would,
for parents to buy these e-bikes for their kids if they got to get insurance for them to ride these e-bikes. But because even those that may not be rated as being able to go up to 50 miles an hour, like a regular bicycle that's not powered, I mean, you can go pretty fast. So I'm sure that even the other e-bikes that maybe not as powerful still, if they can get up to 30 miles an hour or 40 maybe going downhill. I don't know how they rate them. If you impose that kind of requirement, that might be a deterrent, especially for parents if they have to buy insurance.
yeah, so insurance is one of the things that's being discussed. I will say one of the biggest issues that we're trying to figure out is because e-bikes are electronic, it's very easy to bypass for certain people to just hack into their e-bike and bypass the internal regulations that set speed limits. So we're trying to figure out a way to make sure that when it comes to the manufacturer, it doesn't get modified in a way that you could buy it at like a class 1 or class 2 and then just take it home and mess with it, and all of a sudden it's a high-speed e-bike.
It's gonna be hard, Representative, because they have TikTok and you can figure it out there. Board members to my left, go ahead, Board Member Beers.
Corey, I see in your newsletter a coconut rhinoceros beetle display. I live in Waikele. You do too. And it looks like the method is to wait for the tree to die and then cut it down. And we're doing it by a dozen trees are gone. So is there any tangible method that we can use to save our palm trees?
Yes, so there is a treatment. The caveat is that if you do treat the trees, you're not able to consume the coconuts. So what the Department of Agriculture is actually looking at is in certain circumstances going onto private property and treating trees. The big issue there is for some people who actually want to eat the coconuts, by treating a tree, you can't have it both ways right now because that's the only type of chemical deterrent that we have to treat the trees. But that's something we're trying to get funding for because it's slowly a pilot project. There's some money just to, the original focus was on public property, but there is because of the spread, there is a lot of interest in being able to do something for private property owners.
Thank you. Any further questions for Representative Chun? Hearing none. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
I do see Representative Lamasal's report, as also Representative Chun mentioned. Do we have any representative from which office? Perfect. Please approach the podium.
Morning, everyone, board members, chair. My name is Siobhan Clark. I'm the intern this semester with Rep. Lachika from UH Manoa in the public department. There's 4 announcements this evening. I'd like to share with you guys some updates on what Rep has been doing and what she's been accomplishing. She does send her apologies for not being here in person this evening. First up, she would like you all to know that for House Bill 862, which aims to expand student transportation options, is still alive and includes new amendments to incorporate clean emission transportation, which Rep. Lachika supports. It is getting a hearing in the Senate Committee on Ways and Means on Wednesday, April 1st. Next, we recently visited the Waiava Correctional Facility with Senator Elefante's office to learn more about its operations and challenges. We are pleased to report that several of Rep. LaChica's requested capital improvement projects have been included in the House Draft 1 of the 2025 budget. This includes $4.4 million for design and construction improvements to the wastewater system at the Waiava Correctional, as well as $1.85 million to plan, design, and construct for a barrier and signage along Kamehameha Highway near the Kipapa Gulch Bridge to enhance public safety, prevent unauthorized encampments, and ensure unobstructed access to the highway, which I remember from the last time I was here was a big concern. So we're seeing some improvements there. Representative LaChica was also able to attend the Coa Vista 1 and 2 blessing event and groundbreaking last week and is thrilled about this exciting new development in Coa Ridge. Coa Ridge 1 is a 7-story building with 95 senior rental units now open and accepting applications. Coa Vista 2 will be a 7-story, 97-unit family rental apartment building expected to open in early 2026. Representative LaChica is excited to see these developments come to fruition and looks forward to the positive impact it'll have on our community. Lastly, we want to mention, especially with all the conversation we had this evening about the e-bikes, but the office is having a talk story event on May 1st. And the topic is community safety and transportation. It will be in Waipahū at the Hawaii Okinawa Center Ballroom, and we'd love to invite you all to join us. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions at this time, I'll be happy to take them.
Do you have any questions for Representative LaChica's representative? Any questions? Hearing none, thank you. Thank you for the report. Do I have a representative for Representative Asia Perick's office? Seeing none. Anyone here from U.S. Representative Ed Case's office? I don't see him. How about U.S. Representative Jill Tokuta's office? None. All right. Okay. Reports. Let's see. Board of Water. I think he's not here. Any reports from OMPO? Member DeGracia?
Thank you, Chair. No reports to share at this time.
Thank you. Any reports from board members' attendance at other meetings? Seeing none, I do have some announcements. So our next regular meeting of the Waipahū Neighborhood Board is going to be on Thursday, May 22nd, here at the Filipino Community Center. We will be recessing for the month of April, and that is in regards to because we expect or we hope that you can attend the Mayor Town Hall for Waipahū, Mililani Mauka, and Wahiawa communities that is scheduled for Thursday, April 24th, 7 p.m. at Mililani High School cafeteria. Perfect, thank you. Rebroadcasts of the Waipahū Neighborhood Board meeting are scheduled on Olelo Channel 49 every second Saturday at 9 p.m. and every fourth Sunday at 9 p.m. So I would like to adjourn our meeting at this time. Thank you, board members.